Kryptonians? I'm back at it with another video. Today I'm going to be breaking down the full season finale of DC Universe's Titans. It came out on Friday, yesterday. It aired. I got a chance to see it. I got a chance to think about it. Now I get a chance to talk about it. If you have not seen the season finale for Titans, you might want to steer away from this video because I am going to be spoiling the absolute shit out of it. This video is also going to serve as both a review for the season finale of Titans as well as an overview of the season as a whole. Kind of like Dick Grayson burning his Robin costume earlier in the season, I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone. So if you saw last week's episode of Titans, you saw Dick Grayson run into the house where a whole bunch of crazy shit was going down. To save Gar's life, Raven was manipulated into bringing Trigon back into this world, and now that Trigon is here, he's gonna mess with people. Corey and Donna were stuck outside, and then this episode pretty much is just all taking place inside of Dick Grayson's head. I say this because the episode starts off in such a weird place that you have to believe it's a dream of some kind. And throughout the episode, they constantly remind you by showing you these weird flashes of light that show you that basically you're in Trigon's world and he's just manipulating your dreams. So if you saw the end of last week's episode, and then you saw the beginning of this week's episode, and then you saw the weird flashes of light throughout, and you still somehow thought that all of this was actually happening, well, I feel like that's a personal problem. I feel like that's a you problem. So we start off this episode and Dick Grayson is living the good life. He's in California. He's kicking his feet up. He's in his swimming pool. He's playing with his son. He goes inside the house and you find out that he's married to Dawn and that Dawn has another kid on the way. And it's kind of like, well, that's the least crazy thing about this whole scenario. I mean, look at Dawn. Who wouldn't want to put a couple babies in her? Happy time at the Grayson household is interrupted because Jason Todd comes rolling up to the house. Yeah, literally rolling. He's in a wheelchair. Turns out he had a bad run-in with the Riddler, and now Batman has snapped, and he has come to ask Dick Grayson to go back to Gotham City to try to convince Batman to kind of like walk back from the ledge because the dude is teetering off of it. He's threatened to kill the Joker who killed Commissioner Gordon last week. Alfred is dead. Barbara Gordon is missing, whatever that means. Only Dick Grayson apparently can talk him down. Only Dick Grayson can get through to him and convince him not to go through with this path. Love the fact that they make this universe feel so big and so lived in. As a Superman fanboy, I was very happy to hear Superman's name dropped a couple of times in this episode. Kind of casually mentioned in conversation. Apparently in this universe, or at least in this dream within this universe, Superman and Batman don't get along and they don't talk that much and they kind of are estranged from each other. I'm kind of like, yeah, well, that sucks, but I guess that makes sense for the world that this dream is trying to pull off. Ultimately, Dick agrees to go back to Gotham City to try to save Batman's soul. He gets on a plane, he heads to Gotham City. When he gets to Gotham City, it's kind of interesting because he's in a taxi cab and he asks the taxi cab driver to drop him off in Uptown. You would assume that Uptown is the nice part of Gotham. When you get to Uptown, you find out that Gotham is just a piece of shit right now. Like, holy shit, there's just so much wrong with Gotham at the moment. There's crime running rampant in the streets, there's prostitution, there's drug deals going on, there are dead bodies in the street, shootings everywhere, there are random fights that get started on the sidewalks. It is a messed up situation for sure, and Dick Grayson goes to his hotel, he checks in, and he sits there contemplating, what the hell am I even doing here? This place is a mess. Find out that Batman dropped Joker off of a building. That's right, Batman actually tried to kill the Joker. Grayson gets there, and then he runs into a cop, and at first you're like, that cop looks kind of familiar. Holy shit, is that Trigon? Because Trigon has inserted himself into Dick Grayson's dream. He's just kind of a regular cop trying to do the right thing. First, Dick is like, no, I don't want to be here. I want to go back home. I want to go to California. I want to pick a better life. But then Joker ends up waking up, and they're like, oh my god, he's alive. And he's like, okay, I can't leave yet. He tries to go to Wayne Manor to try to talk some sense into Bruce. He ends up talking to him through a bookcase. We don't actually hear any dialogue from Bruce, but we see him in the Batcave. He's just sitting there in a dark silhouette, and he's watching the video monitor where Dick Grayson tried to appeal to his inner conscience. Well, as we find out later on in the episode, in a conversation with Corey, who apparently is a cop in this universe, Batman has no conscience. He has a code, so saying he appealed to his conscience, I guess, wouldn't be completely accurate. Over the course of the episode, things just keep escalating and escalating and escalating. Batman comes back to the hospital, kills Joker, then Batman completely goes off the deep end and he goes to Arkham, and you see he's killed a whole bunch of people in Arkham, and not just supervillains. This dude has taken out nurses, he's taken out guards, he's taken out other inmates. Batman has officially snapped and he's just lost his freaking mind and he has gone over the line. At least that's what we're told in this episode. You see a couple of interesting Easter eggs for the villains that Batman took out. You see a guy with Riddler tattoos on his arm, that's obviously supposed to be Riddler. You see a guy that's holding a coin in his cell covered in blood, that's obviously meant to be Two-Face. I'm not sure, but I actually think I may have seen Ventriloquist. I'm not entirely sure. I thought I saw him on the ground bleeding to death, so I don't know. That's just maybe a thing in my head, but can anybody point out in the comment section if they actually saw Ventriloquist? Point is, Batman has gone too far, and now the police in Gotham City are going to put him down. Dick has to go to Trigon and basically reveal Batman's true identity, so basically the police and SWAT or whoever the fuck, they all march on Wayne Manor and they're there to take Batman down. Corey goes along, and that was kind of a cool thing to interject her into this episode. She's the one person who has a personal connection to Dick while he's going through this dream scenario. So they get to Wayne Manor and they have a trap for him. They rig the place to blow, but then Batman just starts taking out all of these guards. Even though the show definitely goes out of its way to try to avoid showing Batman, they keep his face shrouded in darkness, shoot him from different angles so that you don't get a clear look at him. But it is still some insanely brutal stuff. Batman kills all the people there. He even kills Starfire. He hits her with a freeze gun or something like that. I'm like, could that also be an Easter egg? Could that be an Easter egg to either Captain Cold or Mr. Freeze or another one of those Gotham villains that use ice guns? I don't know. It's just, again, another great Easter egg moment. So Dick Grayson blows the building and then he goes inside the building and it turns out Batman is dying. He's been crushed under some rubble. Dick Grayson is basically like, well, you wanted me to become like you. Well, screw it. I'm going to become like you. So he steps on Batman's throat and he kills him. As Eminem would say, we snap back to reality and all of a sudden inside the house you see the Trigon has messed with Dick to the point that his eyes are completely black now. Raven loses her shit. She tries to convince Dick to come back to the world of the living and Dick is just kind of like, no, I like it here. This place is dark. This is who I am. This is what I want. Boom. That's it. That's the whole episode. That's the ending. We do get actually a pretty cool tease to season 2. Season 2 teaser is Superboy. It shows Superboy in this place somewhere in Metropolis, in this place called Cadmus. We all know what Cadmus is. You hear a whole bunch of people dying, and then you see this big, tall, huge Kryptonian naked dude just walking in the shadow. He walks to some cage where there's this dog, and then the dog's eyes light up, and you're like, holy shit, that's Krypto. We're going to be getting Superboy, and we're going to be getting Krypto for season 2. That is awesome. But unfortunately, that doesn't fix my issues with this episode. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I found this finale underwhelming as fuck. Like, it really didn't do a lot for me at all. Even the cooler parts of the episode involving Batman, we don't even get a fully nuanced, fully realized character in Batman. Batman essentially is just there to be a plot device so that it can beat us over the head with the same message that we've gotten about Dick and Bruce's relationship over and over again this entire season. This entire episode reminded me of an arc from the new Teen Titans that was called The Terror of Trigon. Essentially in that story, Trigon does exactly what he did in this episode, except to more members of the Titans. He gets inside their heads, he gives them visions and nightmares and dreams, and he twists them up and he torments them. He essentially does that, except on a much smaller scale and apparently only with Dick Grayson. My problem with this is, this finale did not do the rest of the season justice. In fact, it kind of undermined everything else that happened this season. After all that build-up, all that methodical character building, all of those episodes where it seemed like their story didn't move ahead that much, we get to the finale and they waste it by showing us an entire episode that was obviously a dream from the beginning. By focusing on Dick Grayson, and once again, it would have been interesting if they had actually showed Batman as a character, like actually made him a character. He doesn't have any lines of dialogue. We never actually see him interact with Dick. We never actually hear him or hear his perspective. That's the only interesting thing about it, is that it does show what Batman would be without a true support system in place, without Alfred, without Robin, without Commissioner Gordon even, without Barbara Gordon or any of the other people that Bruce counts on to be like the anchor for his life. We kind of see him go off the deep end. That's kind of cool. But overall, it's just not worth the build-up. Honestly, you spend the entire episode focused on Dick Grayson. What about the other members of the Titans? What about Donna and Starfire? Are they just sitting outside this whole time trying to get in? Did they give up and go to a Starbucks or get something to eat in the meantime? Start bitching at each other, trying to come up with a plan, and then they started round 2 of that fight that we never got to see them finish? I don't know. This episode doesn't answer it. It just kind of leaves it hanging. It leaves the entire season hanging. This is a case where a season finale felt more like a mid-season finale in terms of its execution. All that build-up, no payoff. That's the best way I can describe the season as a whole. There's some great character development with Dick Grayson. Honestly, Dick Grayson gets the most attention. He gets the most development. His character gets the most fleshed out. The show did a very poor job, in my opinion, over the course of 11 episodes at balancing the team, at showing equal character development for the other characters and heroes. We get a few moments like Hank and Don. They get an entire episode dedicated to them. We get a little bit with Jason Todd. That's essentially what this season felt like. It felt like an extended trailer of Dick Grayson's transformation into Nightwing, and it felt like it was building up for season 2, and that's really all it was build up for season 2. Even the episode called Coriander that was supposed to take a bigger look at Starfire, we didn't really get much from her in that episode. It really was more of an exposition dump for Trigon. My boy Gar was criminally underused this season. He got the least amount of development. He got the least amount of time. Gar at times felt like he was just there. Raven at times felt like she was just there, or at least she felt like she was just there, except her story basically forms the plot of the whole season. There are definitely some things to love about this season. I mean, there's some great fight choreography and action scenes. One thing that they had going for them this season that I feel like should transition easily into season 2 is that the action sequences are A1. There are some great character moments scattered throughout the season in individual episodes, depending on which episode you're watching. I think the production value and the performances overall by everybody involved was pretty good, especially Brendan Thwaites as Dick Grayson. He is like the definitive live-action Dick Grayson for me now. There are some great Easter eggs and references. They do a great job at building the world of the Titans, but I do feel like they should have done more to build the characters themselves. We get a little bit of building for the characters, but not as much as I think we should have. It just kind of comes and goes. Some of the CGI in the show also looked really good. Some of it was just not that good. I like a good slow burn as much as the next person, but it doesn't fix my issues with this season. There's so many unanswered questions and threads that are just left dangling by this season. Why did Raven randomly reach out to Hank and Don a couple of episodes ago to ask them for help? And what does Jason Todd have to do with any of this? Am I meant to believe that the car accident suffered by Starfire in the beginning of the season is the reason why she forgot everything about who she is? Raven's mom was actually working with Trigon this entire time. How does that reconcile and make sense with the organization that was after Raven this entire season? Seems like her and the organization would have similar goals, right? Well, then why did she hide her? Why did she try to run away from Trigon? And if she actually did escape from Trigon and she was trying to hide Raven from her, is this like a recent manipulation that caused her to go to Trigon's side? Why didn't we see any of that? We didn't see any of that. Maybe that was developed off screen. There's also a contradiction in this episode even. Like, Robin says, okay, Batman has a code. He never goes over the line. But if you listen to Brendan Thaites before the season came out, he essentially says that was one of the core reasons why Robin left Batman in the first place, is that Batman started to go over the line, and he was starting to go over the line too. Now, all of a sudden, in the season finale, it's a different story. Batman apparently has never crossed the line. In fact, Robin was the one who crossed the line with Tony Zuko. I don't want to make it seem like I'm bitching too much about the season. I think this is a good, solid opening season for Titans. The finale felt more like a mid-season finale than an actual finale. It doesn't bring closure to any of those arcs or any of those threads. It teases them for season 2. And I'm like, yeah, that's great for season 2. But what about this season? In the end, season 1 was a solid beginning for the Titans, and I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 supers. There are definitely some 5 out of 5 moments throughout this entire show, but I feel like that finale just undermined a lot of that, and it cut my score down. Those are my thoughts on the season finale, as well as the season of Titans as a whole. Tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!
Look in your eyes, it makes me go blind.